Yesterday we were talking about this subject of Vijja and Charana, clear vision or knowledge, and conduct or virtuous conduct to be balanced. So one has got to understand what is beneficial, what is not beneficial. This has to be differentiated. That is clear vision or knowledge. When one can differentiate between good and bad, one will be able to walk the road, walk the right path by oneself, and also show the right path to others. If, however, one has no compassion, one cannot generate compassionate feeling, then one will not be able to practice in a beneficial manner, nor lead others to realize the benefit of the practice. So, and also one has got to know what is beneficial or what is not beneficial. That is the function of Vijja, that is clear vision or knowledge. So, with Vijja, clear vision, one can differentiate, and with compassionate feeling, one can practice to be beneficial and also lead the way to others to realize the benefit of the practice. Otherwise, how can one differentiate between good and bad? Even if one has compassionate feeling, if one cannot differentiate between good and bad, how can one show what is right or what is wrong? These two things, Vijja and Charana, clear vision and virtuous conduct, have to be balanced. Not just possess, one should not possess only one and not other. One has got to possess both in a balanced manner. Otherwise, one will not be able to walk the right path, the Dhamma path. Nor can one show the way to others to walk the Dhamma path. Mostly, one will be walking the path of non-Dhamma, at the same time letting others to walk the path of non-Dhamma. So, only when one knows what is right and wrong, one will be able to show the right path and not to go the wrong path. Only when one walks the right path will one reach the right destination. On the other hand, not knowing what is right and wrong, if one walks the wrong path, one will not reach the right destination. There will be no benefit to oneself. So one has got to know it by oneself, at the same time let other people know it. Let other people know what is right or wrong, so that others can walk the right path and realize the benefit of the path. So these two things are necessary. And compassionate, one should generate compassion based on metta, loving kindness. So one has got to possess these two things in a balanced manner. Buddha himself possesses this quality. There are 9 qualities as an attribute to the Buddha, and one of them is Vijja Charana Sampanna, endowed with clear vision and virtuous conduct. For this reason, Buddha is able to practice by himself and know by himself what is right and wrong, and show the right path with compassionate feeling towards others. As regards this subject of Vijja and Charana, it will be better, understandable, if they are explained with the opposite quality. For instance, Vijja, the opposite of Vijja is avijja, ignorance. Vijja is knowledge or wisdom or clear vision, and avijja is ignorance, not knowing. So vijja and avijja are just opposite to each other. So only when one explains the opposite one, or in comparison with the opposite quality, will one be able to understand this better. For instance, if a person is handsome or beautiful, just saying handsome or beautiful is not enough. Only that person is compared with another person who is not so handsome or ugly, where one's beauty or handsomeness will be properly revealed, properly understood, properly seen. Same thing goes with when you want to say a person is tall, only when you compare with the short person will this tallness become obvious, or that person is really tall. Otherwise, just saying tall will not be enough. Only when you compare with the shorter person will you realize that, this person, so and so, is tall or taller. So this is the nature of the understanding. So same thing goes with vijja and avijja. For vijja to be more obvious, we have to compare with avijja, the opposite one. Avijja means ignorance, not ordinary ignorance. There are two kinds of ignorance. Simple ignorance, not knowing the truth, and misconception or misperception, thinking in a wrong way. So there are two connotations of avijja. As for vijja, it is knowing, vision, knowledge. That means there is no such thing as not knowing the truth or knowing in the wrong way. In this way, first of all, we have to understand these two things clearly, namely vijja and avijja. This knowing or vision is also given in other connotations, other renderings such as Chakku, Jnana or Aloka, and vijja is described as vijja Udabadi, Aloka Udabadi, Chakku Udabadi, Jnana Udabadi in this way. So it is compared to the sensitivity of the eye, and also knowledge, knowing the truth, or light, aloka. So when you say vijja, it is also jnana. Jnana also is vijja. Knowledge also is vijja. Eye also is vijja. And light also is vijja. If one knows the truth, one will be able to discriminate between good and bad. Such is knowledge of discrimination or discriminating knowledge. One sees clearly, such as when light comes, darkness goes. If one does not know the truth, then one will be in darkness. If one is in darkness, one will know in the wrong way. Just like when one has contracted cataract, one will not see the truth at all, or even if one sees, and one may not see correctly at all, or if one sees dimly, not clearly, and see wrongly. So it will be not seeing at all, or see even if one sees, one will be seeing wrongly. As for vijja, clear vision, it's not so. It sees the truth. It sees the realities, not wrong things, not wrongly. When light comes, darkness goes. When in the darkness there is light, when the light shines, then you'll be able to see things clearly. And you'll be clear of skeptical doubt. When we talk about truth, we must talk about the Four Noble Truths, Satya, both from the theoretical and practical aspects. There are Four Noble Truths are, first of all, we have the Dukkha Satya, the truth of suffering. Secondly, we have truth of the origin of suffering, Samudaya Satya. And the third one is Nirodha Satya, the truth of extinction of suffering and origin of suffering. And fourth and finally, we have Mega Satya, the truth of the path leading to the extinction of suffering. As for the former two truths, namely Dukkha Satya, Samudaya Satya, truth of suffering, truth of the origin, they are known as worldly or mundane truths, Lokiya Satyas. And as for the later two truths, namely Nirodha Satya and Mega Satya, the truth of extinction and truth of the path leading to the extinction, are known as Lokuttara Satya, supramundane truths. In a sense, the first two ones lead to the realm of existence, Vada Satya, the truth of the realm. Namely, the truth of the realm of births and rebirths. As for the second and the last two ones, they are Vivada Satya, Satya leading to be liberated from the realm. So that's for the first two Satyas, truths, namely Dukkha Satya, Samudaya Satya, the truth of suffering, and the truth of the origin of suffering. They are to be practiced, and one has got to understand in gist what they are. One needs to understand Ogaha in a gist, in short, by listening, Savana, Paripocha. There is questioning, discussion with the teachers. By discussing with the teachers, you can clarify your doubts, you can understand better, and dharana, bear them. Commit it to memory, bear it in your mind, or of course nowadays bear it in your books or in your computer. Nowadays. In the old days, of course, people commit to memory. So, by discussion with the teachers, one can understand better, and by understanding it, one can bear them. And as regards Dukkha Satya, one can find out the method of knowing or understanding the truth of suffering, Dukkha Satya. One has got to bear or learn the correct method of understanding it. And this experience, samasana, one should keep in touch with it. It's the best way, the best I can translate. As though one is rubbing over it or sustaining it. So, as for Dukkha Satya, you are always coming into contact with this truth of suffering. You are undergoing suffering all the time. And the same thing goes with Samudaya Satya, which is the origin of suffering. One has got to understand this also in gist, and understand and discuss with the teachers, and understand better with questions and answers, and then bear it in your mind or in your books or in the computer, and then try to keep in touch with it. Keep it. So this is how you should do with the first two truths, namely Dukkha Satya and Samudaya Satya. As for the later two truths, namely Nirodha Satya and Mega Satya, the truth of extinction of suffering, and the truth of the path leading to the extinction of suffering, you just have to learn it by listening, savana, such as Nirodha Satya, is the state where is the truth of where everything ceases to exist, the extinction of all suffering and the origin of suffering. And then the Mega Satya, the path, the truth of the path, is none other than the practice of the Noble Path of Eight Constituents, which leads to the extinction of suffering. And under such understanding is enough for the yogis. It is quite correct, because as for these two satyas, Nirodha Satya, Mega Satya, the truth of extinction and truth of the path leading to the extinction, have not been experienced by you as yet. They have not come upon you as yet. So you can only know it by learning and then keep it in your mind. It will be in your thoughts only. Even if with the practice you realize the path, consciousness and the fruit of the path, you are not this is something which cannot be understood by reasoning, nor by noting. So only the first, even if this path and fruition knowledge are not to be understood by means of reasoning, or not to be practiced by noting. As for dukkha satya, the first one, the truth of suffering, is abhiniya dhamma. This is to be directly known. To be known, to be seen face to face with it. It should be known freshly as it arises at the moment of arising. Just like a saying, strike while the iron is hot. Such is the quality of dukkha satya, something which has to be known. And something which has to be known has to be noted to know. One should know it. One should try. One should practice to know it. Such is the meaning of dukkha satya, the truth of suffering. For instance, just like if you want to know a person, you have to go and see his face, his or her face. Come, put yourself directly in front of him or her and look at his or her face so that you know that person. Such is the practice to know dukkha satya. You have to know it directly, to know it directly. So this is the state to be directly known. Now, as for samudaya satya, this by knowing, one did not. This is the effect. This is the cause. Samudaya satya, truth of origin, is the cause, and dukkha satya is the effect. So you cannot overcome or abandon the result. You can only overcome or abandon the cause. So this samudaya satya, the truth of the origin, is to be abandoned. Mahadabba dhamma, to be overcome. So such is the qualities of dukkha satya and samudaya satya. Dukkha satya is to be known, directly known, and samudaya satya is to be abandoned or to be overcome. Now as for the third one, nirodha satya, satchikattabba, that is what is given as the quality, as the quality of nirodha satya. This is to be realized. Something to be realized, or realizable state. This must be realized by our own experience, your experiential knowledge. As for the fourth one, megha satya, bhavettabba, it is to be developed. To be developed, to be multiplied, to be uplifted, to be enhanced, so that you are able to develop it further and further, more and more, better and better. If you have not taken upon yourself this truth of the path, you got to do it so that it comes to you, it happens on you, it happens to you. And if you have started it, then you must let it proceed. Let it continue to happen. And if it is happening, you must develop it so that it develops further and further. So such are the qualities of these four truths. In short, what are these four satyas, truths? One has got to, in short, these four satyas, four truths, can be named in this way. To be known, knowable things, abandonable things to be abandoned, and realizable to be realized, and developed to be developed. So, one is to be understood, or known, the other is to be abandoned, and the third is to be realized, and the fourth is to be developed. So one will think, what are these things? What is that to be known, directly known? You may think about it. You may question yourself in your mind, and abandonable thing is, what are the things to be abandoned? You may ask yourself, think about it. And realizable, to be realized, what are the things to be realized? What are the things to be experienced? You may think about it, you may question yourself. And what are to be developed? You may ask yourself. If you are not clear about them, you can discuss with the teachers and then get the answer from the teachers. So with this Paripocha, question and answer or discussion, you'll be able to understand what these things are. Now let us consider this Dukkha Satya. They are knowable things, things to be directly known. Now, what are these things to be directly known? If that is the question, the answer is, they are Nama Rupa Dhammas, mind-body states, or psychophysical things. Mind-body things, mental, physical things. Mental, physical things, psychophysical phenomena which arise immediately, freshly, known as it arises. They are mind-body things. The whole body is Dukkha Satya, the truth of suffering. Everything which enters comes through your six sense doors, such as when you're seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. All these things, activities are happening continuously through the six sense doors. All these things are mind, body, mentality, materiality, or psychophysical things. Then if that is the answer, you can listen to it, savana, and come to understand the nature of the meaning of the first one, namely Dukkha Satya, the truth of suffering. If one asks, what are the things to be directly known? If that is the question, the answer is simply mind, body, or mentality, materiality, or materiality, mentality. Nama, Rupa, Rupa, Nama. That is the answer in short. If we want to continue to study it, when will they become obvious or apparent? At what time? At what moment? Now we have said that all these things rising through the six sense doors are mind, body, the truth of suffering. Let us say, when Sayadaw is speaking, yogis are listening, hearing what he is saying, and the sound waves which issue from his mouth strike your eardrum, ear sensitivity, giving rise to hearing consciousness. On that occasion, in that example, there are only three elements happening. They are elements or essential things. They are neither self nor soul nor man, woman, individual. They are elements or sabhavas, dhatus, elements. And the elements, the first element is the striker element, that is the sound waves, which strikes your eardrum to cause hearing. So yogis are hearing because the sound waves are striking their eardrums. Hence this element is known as striker element. The sound waves are striker elements. They strike the ear, your ear sensitive part of the ear. And your sensitive part of the ear becomes the base element which receives the sound waves. Hence it is known as base element. The striker element strikes the base element continuously, leading to hearing consciousness, which is known as ignition element. Just like igniting. When you strike a match, it ignites. So too when the sound waves strike the eardrum, it ignites the form of hearing consciousness. Not only hearing consciousness, there is this contact between the hearing consciousness and the ear sensitivity. So this is known as phassa, contact, that also is ignition element, leading to feeling good or bad or neutral. When the sound is sweet, it is good. When the sound is not sweet, then it will not be good. And sometimes it will be neutral. In most cases, for the yogis, they will be hearing something good or bad, sweet or harsh sounds in the course of the practice. Such is ignition element. So these striker element and base element and ignition element are occurring continuously. Striker element striking the base element, causing hearing consciousness, contact and feeling. All these things are mentality. The striker element and base element, the sound wave and the eardrum are materialities. They are matter, the rupa. Whereas hearing consciousness, contact and feeling are mentality, the nama. So you are experiencing this mind body, mentality, materiality. There are only two things during this process of hearing, at the moment of hearing. And such are known as dukkha satya, the truth of suffering. They are to be directly known at their very moment of arising. When you are hearing it, know at the moment of hearing, you are said to be knowing the truth of suffering, dukkha satya. This is the explanation in short. At this very moment, you just try to understand these mind, body, mentality, materiality, which are, in short, the truth of suffering, dukkha satya. So this example is given at the moment of hearing. The same thing will go in the case of seeing and other consciousness. So as regards this dukkha satya, there are a lot of explanations given in the text. So long as one is able to directly understand, directly know by noting these three elements which happen in the course of hearing or seeing, such as base element, striker element, base element, ignition element, they don't stay for one moment. They rise and pass away, they come and go. They are not stationary, they are not resting. Even if you don't want to hear, you are hearing. Or even if you don't like it, you will be hearing things. And they are not permanent, they rise and pass away, come and go. By rising and passing away, they are said to be oppressing you. Because even if you don't want to hear, you are hearing. So they are said to be, this arising and passing away psychophysical phenomena are oppressing you. Such are known as sankhara dukkhas, conditioned sufferings. They are dukkha satya, conditioned suffering of the formations, sankhara dukkha, which are dukkha satya, the truth of suffering. So in order to know them, you got to note as it is. Now, these elements have their own individual or specific characteristics. And they also have universal characteristics or common characteristics, such as the characteristic of impermanence or the characteristic of unsatisfactoriness. They cannot be satisfactory because they rise and pass away, they are oppressing you. And they are elements, essential elements, essences. They are neither being, nor person, nor individual, nor self or soul. They are the anatta lakkhana, they have this characteristic of non-self. All these things, these three characteristics are known as universal or common characteristics of these elements. So, these two things, sabhava lakkhana, individual characteristic, and samanya lakkhana, universal characteristics, are to be noted and known. And reaching the maturity of the practice, every time you note, you'll be knowing them as they are. Such is directly knowing the truth of suffering, dukkha satya. So yogis are practicing the same thing. They are practicing to know directly the truth of suffering, dukkha satya. Every time they note, they will know them discriminately. That is the responsibility of the yogis. Otherwise, they will not be able to discharging their duties if they are not noting and knowing the truth of suffering. Such is dukkha satya abhinyaya, directly knowing the truth of suffering. This is what is given in short. So this is explained. When it is explained, one listens to it, bear it in mind, and experience it by noting. This is the aspect of your work. What is to be done? So first of all, you know it from a theoretical aspect, that what is meant by dukkha satya. By knowing it, you understand what is that, what is dukkha satya. If you don't understand it, you can discuss with the teachers by questions and answers, and you can understand better. When you understand them, you bear it in mind, and from theoretical standpoint. Then put it down to practice, that is samasana, by noting whatever arises in your mind and body. So in this way, you are said to be directly knowing the truth of suffering with the practice.
Good.
So whatever arises in your body are these materiality and mentality. They are to be directly known, abhinyaya, and parinyaya to be known discriminately. So if you are able to do it meticulously, whatever arises in your body, these mentality and materiality, note them so as not to miss them by noting face to face as they arise at the moment of arising. And later, with the maturity of the practice, you will be able to understand what is meant by dukkha satya, the truth of suffering, clearly. That's all for today.